Mushroom farm tour, Bean and Beyond.
Okay.
Amazing company. And
hang on, what kind of mushrooms? Hi everyone, and welcome to Dreamers and Achievers. Now today's guest is the founder of the TCC, which stands for the Climate Club and the Climate Consultancy. She's a professor in sustainability, entrepreneurship and innovation at Middlesex University. She's known as Marian Fletcher, but we call her Maz. Welcome, Maz.
Thank you, James.
It's good to see you. How are you?
Good.
Great stuff. So always the first thing I tend to ask my guests is a little bit about, their background, their origin story, and, how did you get here?
I got here by car today.
Of course.
Yeah.
Was it an electric car?
It was my Tesla, otherwise known as my FJ Cruiser.
Okay, no. So not very sustainable then.
No.
It's not a good start.
But how did I get here? Well, to Dubai. I moved out here originally to work with governments around sustainability and social impact.
Sure.
I've always had a focus on kind of education and employment as well. And the last kind of 4 years, I've pivoted more towards helping businesses around their sustainability objective and launching my own business whilst also working part-time as a lecturer as well in this space. So yeah, I've always had this kind of ambition and passion for kind of working with people in this social impact space. And there's a lot of opportunity to do that here in Dubai.
So what was the inspiration for the Climate Club? Yeah, tell me a bit more about that.
I mean, well, with the consultancy as well, it's very much focused on the people side of climate, which I think is an overlooked space. And related to that is how I came up with the idea for the Climate Club, which is really all about community. A lot of the events I was going to felt very samey. Mm-hmm. They were all very corporate. They were all kind of very formal. And I didn't really feel like that was a way that climate could land with a lot of people. A lot of people want to learn in a more authentic way. They want to connect with others in this space. They want to be doing things. The idea came to kind of bring people together in a different way through kind of coffee meetups, events where we kind of like tour local businesses. We learn about entrepreneurs who are working in this space, and we do educational programs as well. ESG stands for Environmental, Social and Governance. Yep. It's a framework that's often used by businesses to try and understand where they sit with regards to these three elements, which are really important for showing that they're responsible, that they're accountable, that they're transparent in how they're operating. G is also very linked to reporting. Right. So it's become very formalized and it's become a bit of a box ticking exercise. Mm-hmm. CSR has evolved over the years from something that's more of like a team building exercise, for example, to something that can be a lot more impactful. And that I think really extends down to, how you train your staff, how you retain your employees, how you demonstrate that you as a business are dedicated to this objective of, doing good, being a good business. It's also just a way to bring sustainability to life. So hosting events and things where you can meet people, where you can kind of understand, where does my waste go? What kind of water should I be using? What's the deal with electricity? Where should we be getting our energy from? We also do like conscious cocktails as one of our most popular events.
I've attended one of these events. They're very good. Yes.
Yeah, it's a very popular one because obviously it involves a little drink as well, and you can kind of relax and you can talk about sustainability and climate in a very informal, relaxed way.
Since then, really, over the last sort of 15, 20 years, how have we sort of seen the landscape in the UAE?
Yeah, I mean, it shifted a lot. Obviously, the UAE kind of committing to a net zero goal by 2050 means that this is going to amplify and ramp up quite considerably over the next 30 years, let's say. So we're likely to see things like the energy supply here changing, moving away from fossil fuels, which has always been a core objective of the government, towards more renewables like solar. They're also investing heavily in hydrocarbon, in hydrogen, sorry. And then we're also likely to see kind of just the landscape of Dubai changing, right, to becoming more green, hopefully, in a lot of ways. A lot of parks being developed, more trees being planted, as you rightly said. But equally, I think there's also going to be a change in the types of jobs that are happening here that are being sought out because businesses are likely to be seeing more legislation coming through related to ESG and environmental commitments. And as a result, they're going to need to hire people with that capacity and knowledge in order to implement it.
I've seen a lot of these big property developers, and they're building these new kind of projects, and it's like, the most amount of trees, and everything seems to be sort of less emphasis on the actual building and more emphasis on the forests or the parks. So what kind of impact is that going to have on not just also people's awareness about, nature and about sustainability, but also on the climate as well? Planting these trees is surely going to have an effect.
I definitely hope so, right? It's getting very hot over here.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing that's making people realize that things need to change. The summers are becoming very humid, very hard to live here, really. So we need to change. We need to move away from concrete, right, which is a very heat-retaining material. The way that a lot of buildings are built, where there's the glass, the reflective, they're not necessarily the most appropriate for this kind of environment.
Sure.
So I'm glad. I don't know too much about the new developments. You're probably better to speak about that. But I'm glad that they are at least building with this in mind. And I hope it goes beyond just the kind of, more visible things to actually some more concrete changes in how they're built.
So let's look at businesses here in the UAE. You've got the average company. Let's say they're an SME. They're 50 people in the company, let's say. They're looking for a CSR strategy. They want to do some good. They want to, support this sort of, get on the bandwagon, as it were. What would you advise them sort of from, a sort of, how do they go from zero to hero in terms of supporting, and being conservationists and sustainable kind of champions?
Okay, so I think every company wants to automatically click its fingers and be that, and that's just not how it works. To be truly sustainable takes a really long time, and that needs to be built into the long-term strategy of the company. So, and there are also things that, will have to come with the legislation and the changes of the UAE as well, things like energy, which are quite difficult to change from an individual perspective. But what I think companies can do is start to indicate and signal that this is something that they care about. So initiatives like DRE's taken with the bees, investing in local projects and grassroots initiatives in order to signal to their employees and to the market that this is something they care about. I like to encourage companies to go beyond that as well. I think education is really how a company is going to be able to make that shift in the long term, because you need to have your entire team brought along with you. If people in your team, in your company, don't know what climate change is, don't know what sustainability means, don't know what that means in their job, they're never going to be able to innovate. They're never going to be able to apply it in their work. And so you're not going to have the types of changes that are necessary for you to achieve your long-term goals. So I think education is really important. I think collaboration and networking and kind of sharing knowledge is also really important, which is what we try and do with the Climate Club, is bring businesses together to learn from each other, because the fastest way to learn, you could just sit there and Google everything.
Sure.
But the fastest way to learn is to meet other people who have been through or who are going through the same journey as you. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to kind of encourage that collaboration and knowledge sharing.
So the Climate Club really provides sort of like a platform where people with no experience or no knowledge or insights into how to do it can actually come there and just listen and understand and just kind of, I'm sure there's lots of other businesses there that are there in a supportive way. What kind of companies do you sort of have in the Climate Club, as well as obviously the traditional companies, but what other organizations are part of this group?
It's a real range, honestly. We've got everyone from like hospitality, government. We've got like small businesses, obviously a lot of startups that are doing things in specific spaces. So it's really great for finding local companies that could help you in certain areas, whether it's your waste or your water or your air pollution or whatever it is. We probably have a solution for you in the club. And so, part of the value that I like to add is to connect people within the club. You're working on that, or you should really speak to that person. Often it leads to very good results. Yeah.
I've spoken to a lot of people who are, let's say, solopreneurs or maybe a team of 3 or 4 people. And they were like, well, what effect, why should I do a CSR or implement a CSR strategy? It's not really going to have much of an effect. I'm not going to make much of a difference. What do you say in that situation?
Honestly, I think those people are a bit lazy. Lazy and, in denial as well. The facts are clear. This is not an argument we should be having anymore. This has been proven time and time again in many studies in the UK, in America. The value that an ESG or a CSR strategy kind of provides your business in terms of employee retention, in terms of customer retention as well, in terms of like lowering your costs, improving your efficiency and how you're using energy and things like that. So like basically every metric possible, it's proven that having this kind of strategy helps your business, and that these businesses are doing better and outperforming others. So I kind of respond with a little bit of a disappointed face.
Yeah.
But yeah, no judgment, obviously, but also like, I don't think this is a debate anymore. This is not a time for debating. This is a time for action.
Well, yeah, real estate in particular is an industry that I've been heavily involved in for some time. And in real estate, it's all about, the car or the watch or those things. And especially, with CEOs, managing directors, business owners, they feel that they have to sort of, and also the agents as well, they feel that they have to kind of showcase themselves as, successful. And I've always said to sort of, over the years, I've talked to a lot of CEOs, and I said, the greatest legacy you can leave behind to your kids isn't necessarily, a car or money. It is a healthy planet. That's got to be it, right? I mean, that's got to be the best gift of all. So that your kids can go out and breathe the air, and that they can, they don't swim in a toxic ocean. That you're leaving something behind, and that's got to be the number one priority above everything else.
Yeah, I mean, you often see a lot of mothers, right, really starting to care about this when they become a mother and they realize, this is what matters more than anything else in the world to me. I'm not saying fathers don't also, but mothers are usually just more motherly. But yeah, so I think that I think we get a bit blindsided by short-termism. It goes back to that long-term vision of a company that they need to have. They need to be focused eye on the prize. What is the prize? What's actually going to be more meaningful in the long term? And it is that legacy of a sustainable business, sustainable both in the sense of a business that lasts, that is financially viable and lasts. You have to have that element, but also sustainable in the sense of not damaging the planet.
Yeah. So ultimately, it's more than just planting a mangrove or, doing some sort of like team building initiative. The future is all about, I guess, weaving a sustainable CSR strategy into the kind of, mission, vision and values of the business in order for it to have real impact and for it to be, long-term, and that they leave some kind of like, positive legacy. I think that seems to be, what, from my understanding, is what you're trying to sort of give that message across.
Yeah, I think it goes down to also where sustainability is placed in a business. And one of my pet peeves is seeing it put under a communications department or PR. That's not where your sustainability function should sit. Otherwise, by nature, it becomes a greenwashing exercise. It's all about your external communications. It's not about what you're doing internally.
So where should it be?
It should be under the CEO.
Okay.
It should be with your strategy team.
So the strategy, and then basically a call to action. This is what we're doing for 2025, let's say, and beyond.
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be directly feeding down from your corporate strategy. It should be part of that, embedded in that, and flowing through every department that you have. You
mentioned on greenwashing, you touched upon that. That's something that a lot of our viewers don't necessarily know too much about.
Okay.
Just give us a quick insight into what is greenwashing.
So greenwashing is a company claiming...
Say it with a smile, because we both know what it means.
Claiming that they're doing things that are environmentally beneficial or, not harming the planet in certain ways, when the reality is that, it's not the full picture. It's a marketing tactic to kind of have this halo effect, the green halo effect, to say we are a really sustainable brand. This is something we really care about. But you kind of, when you dig into it, you find that, there are things they're doing that are not good. And it doesn't just mean from an environmental perspective, but if you look at like their supply chain, maybe there are human rights abuses in it. Maybe they're not paying their staff. Maybe there's discrimination happening in their business. So it can happen in many different ways. But yeah, it's definitely a common problem. And it's something that Europe is really trying to target at the moment by having a lot of regulation around claims that businesses can make when they're talking about the environment.
Because for legal reasons, we can't mention which ones, but there have been some quite big organizations that have said, we're doing this, and when in fact they're not.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So businesses have to be careful as well, especially if you're operating, in an international environment.
Yeah.
What you say in one market may not be allowed or be acceptable in another market.
So how do you see the UAE looking in the next, say, 5 to 10 years? What's the vision, do you think? And how do you feel that you and the Climate Club will fit into that moving forward?
I mean, I hope that we can be part of the change, especially in that kind of grassroots way where we're bringing people together and we're educating as well. Well, my passion is for education. I think there's so much that people don't understand when it comes to this topic. And maybe we're a bit scared to learn as well, right? Because so much of it can be climate doomism. Well, what can we do about it anyway? Is there any point? That kind of mentality is what we really need to shift in order to, get everyone on the same page and for us to be moving forward. So I think that education is building that level playing field. And then from there, we can all be moving towards a common goal. Because it's about collective action, right? If only half of us are doing something, we're never going to have the same impact as with everybody doing something.
Sure.
Even if that is just a little bit from each business. So it's about, I think from the UAE's position, they are a leader in this region, but they still have a long way to go. The region has a long way to go.
But they're doing something at least, and they've got a plan.
Definitely, there's a plan. There's legislation coming. There's ambitious goals. There's a lot of investment in kind of technology, the renewable energy side. I just think it needs the people to be all on board and bringing it forward as well.
Now, we talked about conscious cocktails and about sort of the evening networking as well, which is a lot of fun. And, at the end, we're going to give everyone, your details, and they can obviously connect with the Climate Club. As well as those sort of little events, what kind of other initiatives are you doing that's sort of really impactful, but also fun? That's what we're looking for, a bit of fun. How do we mix CSR and sustainability and conservation with fun? And how can businesses get involved?
Okay, so part of my goal with Climate Club was to get people more connected to nature. So we run hiking events and things on the weekend.
Now you're talking. No, because I love hiking. So that's a good,
But one thing I'm also introducing is, have you heard of plogging?
Oh my goodness. No. It's a family show, keep it clean, whatever it is. Okay, plogging. Tell us about plogging.
Plogging is effectively running whilst picking up litter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's called plogging.
Plogging.
Where's that name come from?
Denmark or somewhere like that?
Fine. The Scandinavian.
Yeah.
Say no more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's basically a beach cleanup on steroids.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
So, you run, it's a running group, but it's got that added benefit.
Running and picking up litter at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you have one of those claws that kind of, okay.
I'll need to get some.
Yeah.
But that's something I want to introduce. We've done some really fun things like mushroom farm tour, like Bean and Beyond.
Oh, okay.
Amazing company. And
hang on, what kind of mushrooms?
The safe kind.
The safe kind, okay, right, okay.
She actually grows them out of coffee granules, out of used coffee granules.
Wow, amazing.
So she goes to like Starbucks, picks up the...
So you harvest these mushrooms?
She does, she sells them to kids.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're like yellow and peach coloured mushrooms.
Interesting.
That was really fascinating. And then you get to take home a kit and grow your own mushrooms.
So have you grown your own mushrooms yet?
I have, yeah.
Okay, right. Mushroom risotto then.
Exactly, right. Very sustainable.
Good, that's great.
What else have we done? We've done a recycling facility tour.
Okay.
A lot of people are very interested in the waste problem here. So actually seeing how waste is handled and what can and cannot be recycled is really interesting.
I'm glad you touched on that point, because I remember when I first came to Dubai and I used to see the recycling bins or outside, the supermarkets.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you would see, you put your plastic in and you're trying to do your thing, because because Brits are obviously, they're a bit more conditioned to do it.
Yeah,
Because they're compelled to do it because of education back there. So you start to see them, and then obviously you see the garbage trucks turning up and putting everything in one bit.
Yeah.
So you're like, what's going on here? It's not actually, is it actually recycling?
Yeah, there's not a lot of faith in the recycling system here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are a lot of services that will...
It's definitely changed.
Properly.
But that was, we're talking some years ago, but it's definitely changed, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I think a lot of people want to see it for themselves. When you see it, you believe it.
Right.
So that's why we do that one.
Okay. So how often are these tours that you do?
Quarterly.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So companies can actually join on these? Okay, that's great.
Do them as part of CSR days, team building, etc. And very educational. We can talk about circular economy and what that looks like in the UAE when into your business. We do carbon literacy training. So again, back to that kind of education element.
So you'd come in to explain about carbon literacy to the teams, to the companies, yeah?
So as part of the membership to the Climate Club for businesses, they get free carbon literacy training for 5 of their employees. So that is a nice offering, and then hopefully they see the value in that. But yeah, that's a very valuable kind of training course that is done very commonly in the UK, for example. It's where it's from. And so, we offer that as part of this membership.
Great.
Another fun one I've just remembered, which we're hopefully hosting in November, is a silent disco beach cleanup.
Now you see, look, you should have started with that.
No, right?
I love a silent disco.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't been to one in a while. I think probably a festival years ago, but that's good. That's great.
That was a friend.
So where's that going to be?
I think we're still finding the location, but maybe, I heard it was closed actually. Secret Beach?
Okay, I think it's closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live near it. I think it's...
Yeah.
Well, at least I haven't seen anyone on there for a while, so yeah. That'd be great. Let me know about that one. I'll be well up for a bit of... It just looks so random, doesn't it, when you see people kind of dancing and there's no sound.
I think I'm going to get a lot of strange looks, but it'd be fun.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. So some other events that we're doing are things like leadership lounges. So they're interviews with businesses that really are pushing for sustainable change in their industry. So learning from them, and also things like how did I get here, which is kind of exploring how businesses went on that change. And kind of lessons. We do deep dives on particular topics. So 1 month we could be talking about circular economy, and we'll bring in an expert there and do kind of ask the expert sessions. So really trying to leverage the amazing expertise that's in this market, and kind of share that with people that are really interested in making the change.
You've got a lot going on. And how do you find the time to do other things? I know that because you mentioned about the climate consultancy. So obviously the Climate Club seems like a full-time job. And obviously other sort of hobbies and other activities that you do. Do you find time to do other things?
I walk my dog a lot.
All right.
It takes up a lot of time. Of course, I try and keep a balance. I mean, I'm in a very lucky situation because it doesn't feel like work to me for a lot of it. So particularly the work we're doing with the consultancy, it's around green education, green skills, human rights, just transition. These are all topics I care so much about, and I find it so fascinating. So a lot of my work is kind of speaking with businesses and different, experts on these topics. And so I'm also learning as I go. It doesn't really feel like work. But obviously I also have a team as well who are fantastic and who I couldn't do it all without, and volunteers who help with the club as well, which is really important for allowing us to do so much and fit so much in the calendar.
Nice. Thank you so much for coming in. It's been really educational, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
For having me.
Take care. See you soon. Thanks for watching. If you want to learn more about the Climate Club, then we're going to pass some details on to you. And thanks again. See you soon.